We are live. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Everyone, welcome to our community conversation with Hassan Shibly and special surprise guest. I feel bad, Hassan, because I didn't have the surprise guest confirmed before I invited you. So like your name is attached to the title of the event. So you got to carry the weight, man, with that.
Man, we're blessed to have Amer, bro. I got so happy when I saw him, man. We got to have him.
Alhamdulillah. So I will be introducing our panelists tonight. We've got some very special guests. Of course, we have our brother all the way from Florida who is actually supposed to be here tonight, brother Hassan Shibly. Assalamu alaikum, Hassan, man. Good to have you.
Alhamdulillah, man. I'm really sad I can't be with you in the community. It's been a beautiful tradition every year. Alhamdulillah, I think almost, was it been for the last 4 or 5 years almost?
Man, longer. This would have been your 6th year, man. This would have been the 6th year. Yeah, I know. It's amazing, you know. I think it was 2015. We invited you to come out because we didn't have a fundraiser since our imam kind of retired. He said, you know, I got to move on. You got to find somebody else. And we respected that. And I'm like, who can do it? Who can do it? So someone was like, no, you got to ask Hassan to come out and do it. I said, Bismillah, we did it. And you came out. The community loved you. You loved Oklahoma, and you've just been coming ever since. And hopefully we'll get you here in September. That's the plan, if everything goes as planned.
After the year isn't over, we ask for Allah's rahmah and to improve the global situation right now. And hopefully get to join you guys again. So I am sad that I can't be there in person, but I really appreciate the opportunity to be with all of you, at least virtually tonight, and just discuss about how we can grow stronger as a community and support the great work of CAIR-Oklahoma as well, inshallah.
Inshallah, absolutely. And one of our very special surprise guests I'm going to introduce real quick before we let you speak, Hassan, is one of my favorite Palestinians, one of the funniest people I know. He is an adjunct professor at University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. He's a speaker. He's a writer. He has a book called Being Palestinian Makes Me Smile, which I needed to get a copy still because the last time you were here, Amer, you sold out and I didn't get one. So we need to fix that. He's been a surrogate for Bernie Sanders in 2016, and I believe again this year. So I'm happy to introduce our friend all the way from Michigan, Mr. Amer Zahr.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be with you. I wish, you know, it's funny. I woke up this morning and my iPhone calendar told me I was supposed to be in Oklahoma today. So I'm kind of sad that didn't happen. Hopefully I'll see you all again in September, but I am happy to do what we all can do, which is to be here virtually. And Adam, I promise to mail you a copy of that book.
Inshallah, man. I look forward to it. So very happy to have you both. And we got one more guest coming. I think he'll be on in just a few minutes. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Zoom. If you have any questions, you can comment on the Facebook link. You can also, if you're on Zoom, you can drop it in the chat box as we go on. So we're really excited. But Hassan, I want to turn it over to you first. You know, you've been executive director of CAIR Florida for about, 9 years now. You know, you built that organization up, mashallah, from just yourself to having so many staff, so many offices. You have taught me the real meaning of not only being devoted spiritually, but being devoted to civil liberties. Oh, mashallah, we got our fourth attendee, fourth participant on. We'll introduce him in just a minute. But Hassan, you know, you've really inspired me. I know you inspired the community. And now, you know, we've entered this time that is really unprecedented in the history of the world. How can we, as Muslims, as a community, as individuals, continue our commitment to fighting for truth, to fighting for justice, to fighting for our constitutional freedoms in the midst of all this chaos that we're experiencing? And how can we also maintain our spiritual balance in the process?
Jazakallah khair, man. Let's see. Before we jump into the topic, let's just welcome Imam, our beloved Imam too. It's a blessing to see him. Assalamu alaikum, Imam.
Wa alaikum assalam. Am I muted or?
No, we can hear you.
Imam, and alhamdulillah, like I was mentioning to Adam, I wish I could be here with you all today. You've shown me tremendous hospitality, and wallahi, visiting CAIR-Oklahoma, visiting your masjid, visiting yourself, and Your family, mashallah, has always been a highlight of the year. It's refreshing for us. And really, Adam, to be honest, wallah, you inspire me. I think CAIR-Oklahoma, alhamdulillah, is a model chapter. You guys have done phenomenal work. And wallahu musta'an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners. I think to jump in and answer your question and really just highlight the message I want to emphasize is, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, these tests are indeed opportunities. See, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so generous that He never takes, He only gives us. Every apparent loss is an opportunity for us to grow, is an opportunity for us to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is an opportunity to find different ways of growth. This is indeed a challenging time for the entire world. But the harder and the more difficult the times are, the greater the reward of doing the right thing. See, one of the main messages I've been trying to emphasize is that in this dunya, we have the opportunity to do acts of worship that are most beloved to Allah that even the angels can't do. And that is, we have the opportunity to sacrifice for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can only sacrifice if we're in the realm of because there is fear, because there is insecurity, then it gives us the opportunity to struggle for the sake of Allah, to sacrifice for the sake of Allah, to overcome the injustice, to overcome the oppression, to overcome poverty, to help those in need, to sacrifice. And that's an act of ibadah that even the angels can do. The angels, mashallah, they worship Allah flawlessly, but they're unable to sacrifice because they're not in the realm of diminishment. They have no needs. Whereas we are in the realm of diminishment. We ourselves have needs. And despite having needs, we exhibit our trust in Allah. See, the difficulties and the hardships, they allow us to exhibit trust in Allah. And what does Allah say about those who put their trust in Him? In Allah, Allah loves those who put their trust in Him. Allah loves those who struggle for His sake. Allah loves those who offer sacrifice for Him. And I think the greater the difficulties, the greater the challenges that we face as individuals and as a community, the more opportunity that we have to struggle for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and really achieve His love. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has taught us that indeed the greatest sadaqah is the sadaqah that you give when you fear poverty, when you have hope of being wealthy and you fear falling into poverty. And I know we're in a time of uncertainty right now. And despite the challenges we may face as individuals, I was mentioning to Amer before we got going that subhanAllah, our difficulties and our challenges are for many people their dream. I mean, as difficult as our situation is right now, it's nowhere near as difficult as the situation of Muslims in China, the Uyghurs in the camps, the Rohingya, Palestine, Syria, Iraq, the list continues. And the fact of the matter is, much of the reasons that those people are in suffering and in hardship and are in difficulty is because of our own nation, the United States foreign policy. And that foreign policy has often been fueled by Islamophobia. And we enjoy the benefits of living in the United States, alhamdulillah, for the most part throughout the years, despite this difficulty that inshallah we will all recover from. We still have access to education, access to work, access to wealth that we may not have had we remained, for those of us that are immigrants in our immigrant in the nation we or our parents immigrated from. So because we enjoy the freedom of being in the United States, I think we also have an obligation to help the United States correct its failed foreign policies and domestic policies that have led to injustice within the world. That is our role. We are to be that source of mercy for humanity. The United States needs mercy. And I think that the blessing and the hidden blessing in disguise with this virus, it reminded us of the equality of humanity. Just, I think yesterday, Boris Johnson, the head of the United Kingdom, tested positive for this disease. While we human beings are busy oppressing and hurting each other on account of race or religion or social or economic class, this disease doesn't discriminate in terms of who it targets. The reality is, of course, when it comes to treatment, there may be issues of discrimination there. People who are more affluent, more wealthy, may have better access to treatment and so on. But as a disease, it doesn't discriminate in terms of who it targets. It reminds us that we as humans are one, and we cannot continue to engage in oppressing each other without Allah sending us something that reminds us that we all are one and we should stop the oppression that we are doing of each other. We have to take whatever measures we can to protect ourselves. But it is essential that we continue to rise to the occasion in these difficult times. We cannot forget our masajid, our Islamic institutions, our schools, this disease, this issue, inshallah, we will get over this difficulty. And when we get over this difficulty, we need to continue to fight Islamophobia. We need our children to continue to have a solid Islamic education. We need to build pride in the Muslim identity. We need to be that force of mercy that this country is so desperately in need of. We cannot forget that it was not long ago that millions of Americans, of our fellow Americans, were supportive of presidential policies that tore apart children from their parents, infants from their parents, because they didn't immigrate within the ways that the current federal law allows, and their punishment was that they are to be separated from their children. That it's this country still desperately needs mercy, and I believe as American Muslims we ought to be that source of mercy. And while I know there's a lot of urgent needs right now we are facing, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the kind of job where you can work from home, where you may have lost some business, but alhamdulillah, you still have some income, where maybe you're not making as much income, but you have some savings. If you're in a privileged position, this is your time to achieve tremendous closeness to Allah by serving those in need, by helping others. You know, the sacrifice that we have to make in this dunya is temporary, it is short. But the reward of that sacrifice is forever. And that's why these hardships are a blessing, because whatever difficulty we may encounter by way of these hardships and these difficulties, it is very temporary. But the reward of sacrificing, of putting our trust in Allah, and of helping others, the reward of that is eternal. So now is the time to summarize my opening remarks, for us to achieve the love of Allah through sacrifice, through service to others. We have to look out for each other. And I say before even I talk about supporting organizations like CAIR, literally we have to look out for our neighbors, for our brothers, for our sisters, for those that we used to see in the masjid. Think in your mind, who do you know that has the kind of job that they're maybe not able to do that job right now because of the situation? Many people before this situation are living paycheck to paycheck. They're not in a position now to pay rent. They're not in a position to buy groceries. We are not believers if we don't love for others what we love for ourselves. And now's our opportunity. Don't wait for people to call you and ask for help. Be proactive. Give gifts. The Prophet ﷺ said, give to each other, and you will build a love amongst each other. And most importantly, remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves those who alleviate the suffering of His creation. He loves those who fulfill the role as the Khalifa of Allah on earth, fulfills the needs of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most beloved deed in the sight of Allah is that you enter happiness in the hearts of your brothers and sisters, or that you relieve from them some difficulty or some hardship. And I know right now as a community, there's a lot of people right now struggling. So a humble reminder to all of us that are watching is, be that source of peace and happiness to others. And sometimes even when you yourself are going through hardship, as Allah describes the Sahaba, Rasulullah was such a mercy that you look at how his students turned out. His Sahaba were his students, and what kind of students were they? What kind of human beings were they transformed into? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes in the Holy Quran, وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ, that the Sahaba are such that they preferred others to themselves, even when poverty was their own lot. Even when they themselves had a need, they still were busy fulfilling the needs of others. Why? Because they had such absolute faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such a faith that they did not doubt at all the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the reason we often hold back from helping others is because we have some form of doubt. What did the promise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did they believe in? They believed his promise sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when he said that Allah will help the servant so long as the servant is helping others. So sometimes in life you may face a difficulty, you may face a hardship, and you desperately need Allah's help, and you don't know how to solve your own problems. The solution to that, my brothers and sisters, and wallahi, I've tested this in my own life, the solution to that is help others solve their problems. Be there for others. Whatever problems you think you have, whatever needs you think you have. And subhanAllah, the more you have, the greater your needs are. You talk to my friends that are business guys. Oh man, we lost $1 million. Literally, one of my friends was telling me, my company lost $1 million. What a blessing it is to be in a position where you can lose $1 million. You know, and for him, his needs are $1 million. $1,000 may not make much for him. And he may have thousands still in the bank, and it really isn't something that they're going to value. But $1,000 for many of the people that are working today, that are out of jobs, will go a long way. You have to pay their rent, their groceries. The point is, the more you have, the more opportunity you are able to use those gifts that Allah has gifted you with to help others. And that is the greatest act of ibadah. We have to believe in the Prophet Muhammad's promise. And now's our opportunity to shine with this, that Allah helps the servants so long as they're helping others. And the greater the difficulty and the greater the hardship, the greater the sacrifice, the greater the blessing. The suffering and the hardship and the sacrifice is temporary, but the reward is forever. So now in this time of uncertainty, in this time of fear, in this time of poverty for some of us, let us go above and beyond extra, putting our trust in Allah, keeping our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then helping those that are in even worse situations than ours. And as we help others, wallahi, you will bear witness how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you and alleviate you and uplift you. So be on the lookout for helping others. And at the same time, tonight, I know how it is running CAIR. I mean, I'll be very frank with you guys. Running CAIR Florida, the money we raise at our banquet keeps us going open to Ramadan. The money raised in Ramadan is going to our banquet. Without being able to raise funds in the banquet season, a lot of times the chapters aren't able to continue their work for the rest of the year. And tonight was supposed to be the night that CAIR-Oklahoma raises its funds to serve you for the rest of the year. And you know the banquet cannot happen out of concern for your own public health and safety. And therefore, it's important, as you know, CAIR-Oklahoma is there for you in your time of need, whether the FBI is harassing you, whether your students face bullying, whether there's anti-Muslim legislatures. Wallahi, I know the sacrifice people like Adam and his team do day in, day out. Protect the community. Make sure right now you're here for CAIR tonight so they can be there for you tomorrow. Speak with Adam. Find out what is the annual budget, what is their needs, what were they supposed to raise tonight, and then take ownership and be that one who strives to fulfill the needs of others. When you serve the needs of CAIR, you're serving the needs of the thousands of clients and the people that we help every single year. Be at the forefront of saying, you know what? Alhamdulillah, we have some savings. Alhamdulillah, I still have some income. You know, okay, what is $100,000 you guys need? Okay, I'm going to call 100 friends and we're each going to contribute $1,000 or $500, whatever it is, because we want CAIR to be there for us tomorrow. We're going to be there for CAIR today so it can continue, because, you know, with Corona out there, Islamophobia didn't disappear. Racism and hatred didn't disappear. In fact, this is the final point I want to emphasize. Typically, with issues of racism, what happens is the more there is hardships within a society, you're going to find increased issues of racism, discrimination, hate crimes. Especially now we're in an election year. Typically, hate crimes and incidents of discrimination skyrocket, and we need CAIR to be proactive and strong, so we never have to turn anybody away. My biggest regret at CAIR, I have regrets, and you know what it is? There are a number of people who were, especially those who were in jail wrongfully or facing oppression in jail, and we eventually got them out of jail. We eventually got them victory and success, but we did it too late, because for a long time we had to tell them we don't have the resources. May Allah forgive us for saying we don't have the resources. Let us never be the reason our organizations, when somebody's oppressed, those organizations say we don't have the resources. I never want to have to say that again. I never want CAIR-Oklahoma to do that. Make sure we invest in CAIR today so that CAIR can be there for you tomorrow. I humbly urge everybody watching to take a leadership role, call your friends, and in lieu of their banquet, make sure they have the funds that they need to continue the effort. Because if Allah is using your wealth to defend the deen and to defend the oppressed, especially at a time of financial uncertainty, wallahi, I can't explain the rewards and the blessings and the love of Allah that descends upon you if He's using you in that manner. Jazakumullah khairan. I'm excited to continue the conversation with my respected colleagues.
Man, subhanallah. Hassan, thank you so much. That was beautiful. I feel like we're just done. That's it. No one else needs to talk. You know, what else is there to say? No, I really appreciate it, man. That was amazing. That was beautifully said. You know, we have to support each other. I mean, this is a trying time, but, you know, subhanallah, like you said, we're not facing hardship like people of previous generations have faced hardship. I mean, we're right now being told to stay home and enjoy Netflix, you know, spend time with our family. It's like we're being forced to relax and we don't like it, you know, which is ironic because normally we complain about how busy we are and how much we wish we were home. But no, I really appreciate that. And, you know, you're right. Tonight was supposed to be CAIR-Oklahoma's 14th annual banquet. Alhamdulillah, some people have already stepped in and we have raised about $35,000 to help us kind of sustain what's going on. And, you know, we're looking at all means by which we can continue to operate. And that's my pledge to my community here in Oklahoma, is that I will stop at nothing to ensure that CAIR-Oklahoma can continue to serve each and every one of you the way we have served you for 14 years. Because I believe in the work of CAIR and I believe in my community, and everything that we have done for 14 years has purely been out of love. Love for our community, love for our state, love for our country, and love for spreading a message of peace and building bridges of understanding. And that can't stop. That is something that has to continue. But, you know, one thing we always like to do with these events is we don't like to always be serious. We like to, you know, enjoy ourselves a little bit, smile and laugh. And I want to really give a few minutes to our brother Amer Zahr just to let us know, you know, what's your take on what's going on right now, and how do you find humor, you know, in such a serious situation? Because I know as a comedian, you know, you've had some pretty funny posts on Facebook and things like that. But you know, how do you see humor through all the craziness is going on, and kind of what's your take on what's going on right now in America and around the world?
Hi. I mean, what a crazy time, right? I mean, we are living through all this craziness. First of all, hello to everybody out there. Salamat. I wish that I was in Oklahoma City with 500 of you like we all expected to be tonight. But hey, this is our new normal. And hello to Hassan and Imad. I'm so happy to be with you guys today. But look, this is a time, I think, to, you know, comedy is useful in any time, and especially in a time like this. I mean, at the very least, we should be reaching out to everybody. Look, my whole life, when they said in the beginning that you can't have gatherings of 250 people or more, I mean, that's what I do like 5-6 times a week anyway. You know, that's my livelihood. And so I knew that was going to come to a stop. But we're so lucky, actually, the way Hassan was saying that, you know, these are our problems. You know, they're pretty small in the sort of big picture of things. But I do know this. I do know that this has messed up Arab social life terribly. I mean, all I do is hang out with you know, I guess maybe white people can hang out with like one other person, but we don't hang out if it's less than 15, 20 people. You know, so when they said people can't hang out with more than 250, that was a problem. Then it was 50. Then I was like, all right, every hookah cafe in Dearborn has to close. Then it was 25. Okay, then it was like you can't even hang out with your cousins. And then it was 10, which meant like Arab families can't even have dinner anymore. I mean, we have families in Dearborn where like the mom, the dad, and the kids is 11. So when you start telling people they can't hang out in 10, you know, that's it. It's a wrap. Nobody can hang out anymore. And look, I live here in Dearborn. I always tell people I live in the Arab Disneyland, all right? It is amazing. But when you're in Dearborn and all the beautiful Arabic restaurants are closed, all the cafes are closed, all the hookah places are closed, it's basically Oklahoma. When you don't have any of those things, I mean, it's like being at Disneyland and all the rides are closed and you're just walking around and you don't know what to do. But look, man, it's been tough, but it's funny, you know, here in Dearborn, we have, as most people know, right, the largest Arab concentration, the largest Muslim concentration in America. And what we've seen here is the minute that this started happening, people, Arab Americans and Muslim Americans, they just jumped up immediately and said, how can I help? The volunteerism and the selflessness that I saw come out of our community was something so beautiful. And I wasn't surprised by it. I don't think any of us are surprised by it. But it's nice to see how everybody just jumped right away within a couple of days. And now you see in this city, people are taking supplies down to the hospitals. They are handing out lunches whenever they can. They are doing food whenever they can. You know, that's the kind of volunteerism we see coming out of our culture. And why not, right? I mean, you know, like Adam said, I'm a national surrogate for Bernie Sanders. And one of the things that has always drawn me to his campaign is, well, first of all, you know, he's Jewish. And I said, we had a Muslim president for 8 years already. So it was time to have a Jewish one finally. But really, the message of his campaign, right, was not me, us. Whereas, you know, you want to fight for a society where we are protecting the weakest among us, fighting for somebody we don't know, making sure that everyone has health care and access to basic services. And for Arab Americans and Muslim Americans, that's not a hard sell, right? That's what our culture teaches us already. All the stuff that Bernie was saying, my Arab parents have been telling me for 30 years. God, I mean, geez, I hear Hassan say it like 5 times a day on Instagram. So, I mean, these are the things these values are so, in times of crisis, our values really come to the forefront. We are not an individualistic society. Yes, we do well, but collectivism is sort of who we are. And I'm so proud of everyone in our society and our community, and as Arab Americans and Muslim Americans who have come together in this time. But let me tell you something, Detroit is becoming a little bit of a hotspot now. For this, people are getting a little scared. And, you know, if Dearborn becomes the center of this, I don't know, man, if one person gets it in Dearborn, everybody's, all we do is kiss each other on the mouth like 5 times a day anyway, you know, like that's all we do is exchange. I mean, you know, I was walking up to a guy the other day. I was going to the grocery store, and a guy came out that I saw that I knew, and I was far away from him, and I said, "Hey man, how's it going? Salamat." And I was just joking with him, like I put up my elbow, and he goes, yeah, and then he just came up and hugged me, man. He's, you know, but we have to take this thing seriously, please. To my people out there, I love you. Stay home. Stay home. Stay home. I know it's hard, especially us, right? Whether it's going to the mosque or whether it's going to someone's house. You know, all of us on a Saturday night right now, even if we weren't at the CAIR banquet, we'd be at a family's house. We'd be with all our friends. That's just what we do. And but it's a small sacrifice in our social life to make sure that we are watching out for everybody else. This is really about everyone else. You know, I'll tell you, I'll stop with this. My immigrant Arab dad, who, you know, I tell a lot of stories about in my shows, and I talk a lot about in my shows, but sometimes he makes things so simple. And yes, it's hard to grow up with somebody like this, who's like an overachieving refugee who you can never impress. And like when I bring home my test with a 96, he says, "Where's the other 4?" And, you know, it's like impossible to deal with these kinds of people. But he said something the other day that I think really was the message that we should all get. He said, look, in America, we used to think that if you get sick, that's your problem. Now we know if you get sick, that's my problem. So really, it is stressing this collectiveness and the way we have to look at things now. So I urge all our people out there, support each other, support CAIR during this time, right? You know, there are lots of people, they don't understand that you know, these times are times when our community organizations need more support, not less. You know, forget about that these times are coming up, the fundraising season that Hassan was talking about, where people might be making less money. But unfortunately, especially with the government we have right now, these are also the times where they might try to curtail our civil rights even more, where they might try to go after us even harder, right? So we need organizations like CAIR. I'm a monthly donor. I encourage people to become monthly donors to CAIR-Oklahoma and as many other chapters as you can. But I view it like insurance, right? You pay every month car insurance just in case your car gets into an accident. Well, I pay CAIR every month just in case my civil rights get into an accident and I need to call in my insurance on that. So I urge everybody out there, stay safe, stay home, give to our community organizations, and I love you all, and I'm proud of every single one of you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. So everyone needs car insurance and you need CAIR insurance.
That's right.
Have a little bit of both. I love it. I love it. Well, Imam Inchasi is with us tonight. For Oklahomans, he needs no introduction, but if we have people watching us from other parts of the country, let me tell you, there are not many imams that have as much swag as Imam Inchasi, even though he may not even know what the term swag means. He still's got it. He's not only an imam and has been for more than a decade of the Islamic Society of Greater Oklahoma City. He is a professor and chair of Islamic Studies at Oklahoma City University. And as of recent, he is a published author with the book Cloud Miles. You can find it on Amazon. So Imam, I know we took up your spiritual reminder time slot, but I think Hassan did a really good job. He jolted our heart and our soul a little bit and got us going and thinking about the importance of you know, focusing our soul and our spirit on what is important. So we'll give you a break from the spiritual reminder tonight. And what's the message, you know, as just as a Muslim in Oklahoma, somebody who, you know, has dedicated his time to community service, to social service, what's the message you just want to give to people out there tonight?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I think people just probably tired of me entirely. I come on every night, remind people spiritually, and remind myself, of course, first and foremost. Amer probably don't remember me, but we met in, you know, it was really ironic. One day I was going to the Holy Land, and we met in Jordan. I don't know if you remember that or not. And I just looked at you and you said, I said, I'm the Imam from Oklahoma. Do you remember me? And you looked at me and said, how can I forget Oklahoma? You know? Right. So, and if you don't remember, I'm going to take my hat off. See, do you remember me now?
Yeah, you have a great haircut. Yeah, I love that haircut.
We look pretty similar. But I remember I gave you a hug in the middle of the airport there. But so that was like the old times now. Now that this is totally new normal now, so to speak. But you were exchanging some money, if you remember that. You probably
no, I remember. I always remember when money's involved.
Yeah, that's
no, I remember exactly.
Yes. So, my dear brother Shibly, I don't know what to do without your posts, man. Sometimes I steal some of them and I just you know, redo them. But thank you for the spiritual advice. My message today to my community is basically what we have been saying all along. So, number one, the importance of community, the importance of outreaching to others. We're still here. Our mission, our Mercy Mission building is open. We are serving approximately 300 to 350 family per day from our, you know, we packaging, putting packages for senior citizens. We have a special day for the elderly during this Corona outbreak. They come in and taking a lot of aid from us. The beautiful thing, you know, maybe some people know that, maybe it's, but 95% of the donation come from the Muslim community, and about 95% of our clients, they're not Muslim. There is that humanity that is run through all of us. And you know, if this thing taught us anything, that we are one humanity. The Quran talks about the first address in the Quran was not to the Muslims or to anybody else, not even to the believers. Ya ayyuhan nas. The first statement that God Almighty made in the Quran is, "O mankind." You know, we are one body. In a sense, there is one race that is the human race. And as my dear brother Shibly reminded us, that we're all hurting. We're all hurting right now. So be that remedy, be that cure, be that healing for others, so that this community in Oklahoma City, whether through our social work and other work, we are working to help those who are in need. Those of us who are privileged and still making money and still working from home and so on and so forth, this is not something new for us to help those who are in need. Second, the second part is, despite everything, I know people are hurting. People are used to come to the mosque and social gatherings and stuff like that. I don't want to give anything, a spiritual reminder. But for us, we need to realize that God works by intentions. And إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, deeds are by intentions. And when we say deeds by intention, for those people who want to come to the mosque and go to gatherings and show the love to each other, and then for some reason, Islamically, we say, with some reason you are held back, but you still get the same reward. God Almighty is Kareem, is generous. God Almighty is merciful. So, not going to the mosque on Friday and praying at home, you will get the same reward as if you have prayed in the mosque, if you have that intention. But the third part is the most important part that that we talked about. That Islamophobia does not stop during this. I don't know if people know that, but there was a call for an interfaith prayer from our own governor right here in the state of Oklahoma. And the people who were invited were not interfaithy. That's right, I just made that word up, interfaithy, right? So pretty much there were people of the same denomination and that came together and prayed. So because we are a community that outreach to others, now we were of course not invited, and the interfaith community was not invited, although it was called interfaith community. It was more ecumenical community prayer than other. So the interfaith community is having their own prayers this Monday with people of different faith and different traditions. Islamophobia does not stop. Discrimination does not stop during this Corona crisis, and that's why we as a community here need to support those who support us. We need to help those who stand up for our rights and for our rights even in these hard times. I know my phone today popped up and say CAIR banquet in 15 minutes, and I was walking in the park and I told my wife, said, "Oh my gosh, today's CAIR banquet," and I know how important that banquet is. And I know the vast majority of the money comes in the banquet for CAIR-Oklahoma, but we cannot, the most important thing for us as a minority community, especially here in Oklahoma, we're a minority within a minority, that we help each other. CAIR-Oklahoma, with all their staff and all their employees, is in need of us, so we need to be there for CAIR-Oklahoma as well. As far as services to the community and services to each other, we are people that we should show perseverance. And I know Amer, he said that Arabs have problem with pronouncing P, right? B, perseverance, right? Perseverance. So I could pronounce that. That's right. I follow you. I watch all you.
I'm proud of you.
Your jokes. So this will pass, and this is not a test for only those people who are sick. This is a test for all of us, right? This is a test for every single person. The virus does not discriminate based on race, color, national origin, ethnicity, gender. The virus is really affecting everybody around the world. And right here in Oklahoma, in our very small community, we need to be there for each other. We need to take care of each other. We need to take care of those organizations that are working for us, and we need to be standing for one another. So I don't know, did I go away?
You're there.
I'm there. That's good. So that's, besides everything that's going on, whatever we could do for CAIR-Oklahoma to keep CAIR-Oklahoma going, and all the other organizations we have. But at this point, CAIR-Oklahoma and that they just lost their vast majority of their income in this banquet. We appreciate everything CAIR-Oklahoma does for us. I do not need to tell you how many times that we had to call upon CAIR-Oklahoma for many cases of discrimination, many cases of outreach, many cases of just speaking. I know Adam speak in my class all the time in different places, and but for the most part, the test is on all of us. So whatever you could do to share the wealth and to share the love with others, whether through food or social services or social justice services, we all should be there for one another. And I'm here for you.
We appreciate you, Imam. You have been there, from day one of CAIR-Oklahoma, and you through this crisis, you're there with your virtual khutbahs, with your nightly spiritual reminders. So we really appreciate that. You know, it's interesting because the two people who give khutbahs the most on this panel of 4 people spoke the longest tonight. So I think there's some correlation there. Although Imam Hassan has you beat on the beard game. He definitely has a more you know, substantial beard there. And
well, wait till
I
it gets white. I don't know if he's gonna have it that long when it's white. So
that's true. Yeah, you might want to trim. That's the secret, Imam, right? That's the secret. Is when it turns white, you trim it down a little bit.
I like how we got 2 kufis, like 2 gentlemen with kufis and 2 gentlemen without kufis. Mashallah. and there's 2 guys that are bald and 2 guys that have light hair. Mashallah. It's a lot of
mashallah. Yeah, rub it in. So believe it or not, I wish I have my picture when I was younger, show you all the curls I used to have. But nowadays, you know, when I have a hair that falls, I have a mixed feeling. It's a hair, but it's white. You know, at the same time, I have a mixed feeling on that one.
I usually tell people that my hair is like Palestinians, and my head is Palestine. They have been driven from their homeland. They can live anywhere else in the world that they want. In fact, I have a refugee camp on my back. I have, you know, there's organizations having conventions and all kinds of places, but just they can't live in their homeland up here. It's a good haircut. You guys should all try it. Look, Imam Ahmad knows. This is a very easy hair. By the way, a lot of you Arab guys out there, I would encourage you, because I know some of you spend like 30, 40 bucks to go to those fancy barbers that line you up and all this kind of stuff. Listen, man, when Gillette is your barber, you survive the coronavirus lockdown, okay? Everything is good. You don't need to deal with any of that kind of stuff. There's some people, there's some, and I'm not talking about women, I'm talking about guys in Dearborn right now walking around like they, you know, they got like they're starting to get this thing right here, you know, because they haven't been able to go to that guy with the thread for a little while. This thing is real. It is real.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Hey, you save money on shampoo too, right? You don't have to worry about that.
No, I mean, listen, it is really by the way, you know, I don't want to get, you know, there's a lot of, you know, the ladies like it. You know, I don't want to get too much. This is a CAIR event. We don't got to get, you know, but hey, you don't spend as much money on shampoo, but you buy a lot more moisturizer. You know, a lot more moisture.
We'll keep it halal for tonight, right? We'll keep it family friendly.
Yeah, so far, yeah.
PG.
So someone had a question here. Actually, Sister Julia. Shout out to Sister Julia from Cleveland, one of our beloved CAIR executive directors for I could be wrong, but I think it's been like 17 years. It's been a long time. And we just adore her in the CAIR family. They love her out there in Cleveland. And she asked, could we give some examples of good deeds and beneficial projects that can still be done during these challenging times? And how can individuals continue to support their communities from a practical perspective? And I do get where she's coming from, because in so many states, including Oklahoma, we're kind of locked down. We can't go out. And we're used to the idea of, you know, going to the food bank, going to the homeless shelter, going to Jummah prayer. And it's kind of like autopilot. When you go to Jummah, you're going to take some money out and drop it in the zakah box or something like that. So maybe, you know, Imam, you and Hassan, you know, might want to chime in and give us some practical ways that we can still feel like we're able to give back during this time.
Well, let me tell you as an imam quickly, people are tired of me to let Hassan talk, but online donations are awesome. You know what I'm saying? You still can do an online donation for all your organization, the food bank, CAIR-Oklahoma, you know, believe it or not, the masajid, we're still paying all the employees that are here and so on and so forth. But also at the same time, as an imam, it was really very, very difficult for me, because I visit the sick over and over and over, and I go to jail. But now, you know, there is, I do family counseling. You know, Zoom is an awesome thing to do family counseling. So I do my family counseling, premarital counseling all on Zoom. Actually, it's even better for me, because now I say, hey, we timed out at 40 minutes. I can't talk no more. That's it, I'm out, right? So they can't keep me an hour and a half, 2 hours. but we still do all these, you can still do Zoom with family counseling, premarital counseling, trying to get people together. In a sense, they're still going. And even the chaplains in the hospitals, they will do FaceTime with me, and I will do prayers via, virtual prayers to the people, virtual khutbahs, like you said, and so on and so forth. So there are many things you could help, making some phone calls for the census, or you could help some organization work on their social media, and so on. So we're still doing that. One of the hardest things for me to do is I did a funeral the other day, and we had to kind of limit the amount of people that come into the funeral. So there's a lot of adjustment, but inshallah ta'ala, this will pass. And during those times, there are a lot of things that we can do electronically, such as this beautiful meeting.
Yeah, mashallah, very well said. SubhanAllah, blessed are those who are really consistent in doing good works before this catastrophe, because whatever good you were doing before, you continue getting the blessings of. So if you're attending Jummah, as the Sheikh said, you're still getting the same blessings. But I don't just believe you're getting the same rewards, you're actually getting more, because the challenges now are greater. So now, maybe when you go to the masjid and you're donating $10 out of your pocket, alhamdulillah, that's blessed and it's important. But now when you're not even going to the masjid, you know what? Our imam is still busy counseling families like 24/7, being a family counselor, a physician, a spiritual guide. I mean, subhanAllah, we throw so much pressure on religious leaders to solve so many problems. So those needs of the masajid are still there. So I'm going to go online and donate. I believe that's even more rewarding because you're going out of your way now. So not only are you maintaining the good that you normally get, which you can't do due to the virus, but you're actually more blessings now because you have less resources and you're going out of your way to help. So may Allah increase those who are striving to find ways. Look, I think Allah says in the Quran that He knows who of us want to go forward and who of us want to stay back. We can make excuses to do good work, or we can make excuses to be lazy. It just depends on what we want to do. And ultimately, I think, especially those that are watching, we're the type that want to make excuses to do more. And I really want to emphasize that isolation, it can be a form of punishment, or it can be the greatest, most transformative, rewarding blessings. I mean, we see it as both within the Quran. And in the case of Samiri, this guy who rebelled against Musa alayhi salam, his punishment was he was told, you can't touch it even. And then Allah said, everything you used to worship, the calf, look how I burn it. And that's what we see, I think, in the sense of a lot of people's false idols of wealth, the stock market, just materialism is just being burned right now before their very eyes. And they're told not to touch. So it can be a punishment if you take it as such, but it can actually even be instead an opportunity and a blessing and a reward if you make it as such. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before he began his noble mission, what did he do? He went into isolation. He would go into Ghar Hira and he would meditate and he would pray and he would reflect. And essentially what he was doing is he was building himself. He was building himself spiritually so that when he finally, the time was chosen for him to carry the message, he was transformative for the world. So the point that I want to emphasize for all of us is we should use this time to build ourselves and build others. Build yourself and build others. If you have more time because you're at home now, you're not able to travel, you're not able to do what you normally do, you're not able to go to work, and find ways to build yourself. Learn new skills, reconnect with people, learn new trades. Everybody's in a unique position where now you have more time. Utilize that time. Don't waste that time. That's the first thing. Use this time to build yourself spiritually, build yourself intellectually, build yourself with your family. Try to build yourself physically. I don't know about you, Amer, but have you been gaining weight, bro? Because I've been having like pre-breakfast, breakfast, pre-lunch, post-lunch. It's like,
I don't really want to talk about it, and I don't know why you're bringing up those kinds of things right now. We're trying to keep it positive.
I'm done here, bro. I was like, we're eating all day. The point is, build yourself, man. Because if you just get back and lazy, it's disastrous. But build yourself spiritually, physically, intellectually, while you have more time at home, and then find ways to build others. So maybe you can't attend a class, but you can attend classes online. Maybe you can't go out and give dawah, but you can teach people online. You can advise people online. Donate to charities. I mean, there's just so much good work you can do from within your home. It's a blessing. Make this a university. Make this your Ghar Hira. Make this your cave where you transform yourself. So when you get out, you can transform the world for the better, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. And Imam, you have turned sideways. I'm not sure why.
I don't know. That's better.
Yeah,
Well,
very good.
yeah, there you go. Now we can see you correctly.
I got kicked out twice. That must be our friends just listening to us. So
Yeah, we do also want to welcome anyone who is watching this live stream from around the world, and especially the many undercover federal agents that are watching this live stream right now. We appreciate your presence.
Easy, bro. We're making their job too easy now.
Yeah, we appreciate your presence. We appreciate you listening in. I mean, you know, I do want to say something quickly about what we can do, and I think Hassan and Imam Ahmad brought up really the most important points. But yes, give to CAIR-Oklahoma, give to as many charitable organizations as you can, because they are suffering at this time while still doing work, right? Adam, for everything that he does, you know, some people might, you know, say, oh, they're not at work right now, and they are literally sitting at home. But people who work for civil rights organizations, they don't get a day off. You know, there's no such thing as not going to work for Adam. He's looking out for our rights all the time. So please make sure that you are giving whenever you can. But, you know, I'll be the first one to say I'm not the most religious guy in the world, but for a lot of people don't know, I went to college and I got a master's degree in religion, and I taught the history of religions at you know, before I went to law school. I read a lot of books about the biographies of our prophets, and two things always stuck out to me the most. One of them is Jesus, who is, of course, the most famous Palestinian of all time, and didn't look like Brad Pitt, by the way. He looked like something between like Hassan and Imam Ahmad, like somewhere in between there. That's what he looked like. He'd be on the no-fly list for sure. But one of the most important quotes that he ever gave in the New Testament was, "That which you do to the least of my brethren, you do to me." Right? And this is something that we live by every day. But in times like this, we really have to show that that's the way we live. And I put that together with all the quotes from the Prophet Muhammad, where the main theme, you would think the main themes would be like about rituals but it wasn't. The main theme was kindness, 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 kindness. And what I've been trying to do during this time is I'll just look through my phone every day, and I'll say, you know what, I haven't spoken to this person for a while, and I'll call that person or message that person. That sort of contact, I think, is what people need a lot in this time. Just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I'm looking out for you. How you doing? You know, what's going on? Little things like that, believe it or not, they go a long way. I know they go a long way because I've gotten a few of those messages from people I haven't heard from in a long time, just saying, hey, just thinking about you. You can send, I know everyone out there, all of you are part of a big network. You know, you're more influential than you know. You are more important than you know to other people. So when you say, hey, please give to CAIR, people listen to you more than you think. And when you call someone and say, hey, just checking on you, just want to see how you're doing, that really means a lot more than you can ever imagine. So take the time that we have now to do those things, but stay home. Please stay home. We need to make sure that we're putting our health first, but in the world that we live in that has become so small because of technology, we can still reach out to each other. So don't think because you can't leave the house, you can't reach out. You can. Take that little extra time. Call some people, text some people. It means more than you know. So connect with people, connect with all your brethren, and be kind.
You know, beautiful. And I just want to add real quick, Adam, sorry if I may. Between Facebook Live and Zoom, we have 60 people, mashallah, watching live consistently, about 60 of us. And those 60, you guys can have a phenomenal impact.
Right.
And I think especially for tonight, I do want to emphasize this because tonight was supposed to be the banquet of CAIR-Oklahoma. And for those 60, if you support the cause of CAIR, what is the cause of CAIR? It is that nobody should face discrimination because of how Allah made them in terms of their race, their nationality, their religion. It's that nobody should face hate crimes, discrimination, Islamophobia. It's that there should be lawyers and media professionals and government affairs experts working full time to defend justice and faith. So if you believe in that, take it upon yourself to support CAIR-Oklahoma. With 60 of us, man, if each of us watching here could just contribute or raise, not even contribute, raise, which means, you know, if we could each contribute or raise $1,000, that's $60,000. In addition to the $30,000 you've already raised, that's $90,000. So CAIR-Oklahoma can continue the work that it does. That's just you calling 10 friends, 9 friends, and saying, "Listen, I'm going to do $100 this year to support CAIR-Oklahoma. Can you match my 100?" Call 10 friends. It may sound like a lot, and I know it is a lot, especially for a lot of people that are going through tough times. But think about it. That's your annual investment for defending Islam, Muslims, and civil rights in Oklahoma. And so that $100 is like $8 a month. It's like $2 a week what you're contributing to defend the Muslim community. So make a firm intention. There's 60 of us, and if you guys can, you know, click the link. If you can put the link in the chat box, Adam, if you haven't already, mashallah, and support CAIR-Oklahoma so they can continue doing this work of defending liberty and justice for all people. Again, 60 of us watching. If we can each raise 1,000 for CAIR-Oklahoma, either contribute it or raise it, that 60,000 will go a long way. They're doing the greatest work, which is to defend justice and liberty in our faith. May Allah accept.
2 minutes.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Hassan. That was like, I think, the perfect ending. And I think, you know, this is a historical night because we may be the first CAIR chapter to ever have a virtual banquet of sorts, which is really awesome, you know, given the circumstances that we were able to come together. Yes, Imam.
I have been facing a lot of discrimination. You know, my wife always told me to come home. And now since I'm home, she kicked me out. I probably need the CAIR services now to get me back. You know, she's native Mexican, and you know, I'm a Palestinian, poor Muslim guy. So now she kicks me out all the time. So I might need your services.
You know, Hassan is much better equipped to handle that. So I will talk to him.
He's actually teaching law right now, so I'm going to refer that one to you, Habibi.
Listen, I'm single. There's a reason that I have not gotten into the trouble that all of you get into all the time. People always say to me, why don't you get married? People start talking about this marriage thing like it's a good idea. You know, like if someone came to me and said, "Hey, Ahmed, you should lose 15 pounds," I'd be like, "You know what? You're right. I should." Every doctor says that's a good idea. It's good for your health. No one can argue against that. And then people say you should get married. And then I look around at the evidence and I'm like, you know, I know that, you know, culturally and religiously and, you know, but I mean, I see how people talk about each other. It's not good for the man. You know, usually, you know, you ask people been married for a long time and the man says something like, you know, when I first saw her, she was the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life. And I knew I wanted to be with her forever. And then the woman will say something like, you know, when I first met him, I never thought I'd end up with somebody like that. You know, he was not really what I wanted, but he kept talking. And as a man, you're just supposed to take that. You're just supposed to take that. But, you know, God bless all your families and your wives. But you know what? Listen, you know what, Imam Imad? We are Palestinian. Don't let anybody kick you out of your house. I don't care if it's your wife. Don't let, we've been through 70 years of that stuff. Tell her enough.
Well, she's half native, so she's been through a lot of that too. So.
Oh, so you can't mess with native people, man. That's what, you know, I try to use like my Palestinianness to get sympathy all the time. Like, you know, I'll just say, be like, you know, people be like, why are you angry? I'll be like, you know, they stole my land. You know, that's a pretty good reason to be angry. And I try to use it all the time. So like the other day I was in a restaurant and I wanted a burger and I was like, you know, do fries come with that? She said, no, they don't. And I was like, yeah, but you know, they stole my land. So maybe give me some extra fries. Now, if the waitress is white, it works. If the waitress is Native American, it doesn't work. She doesn't have any sympathy for me whatsoever. If she's black, she really doesn't have any sympathy. She's like, well, they stole your land. They stole us. So you need to go pay for your fries. So, you know, look, we're all in this together, man. We're all in this together. And Imam Imad, if you need a place to stay, I got an extra bedroom here in Dearborn. You're more than welcome to use it.
There you go. Problem solved. Problem solved.
Seriously, support CAIR-Oklahoma, please. Please support CAIR-Oklahoma.
Alhamdulillah. I appreciate that. And, you know, I know times are tough right now, but I believe with all my heart that we are going to make it through and we're going to do this together. And it is my pledge to each and every one of you watching, to my community. I know Hassan feels the same way. I know all CAIR leaders around the country feel the same way, that we are going to do everything we can to serve you through this crisis and to continue serving you after this crisis. CAIR is an institution in our country that has to continue to exist, not just for us, not just for our children, but for our children's children. And so that future generations can sit around and say, you know what, there was a time when Muslims were discriminated against in the workplace, when kids were bullied in school just for being Muslim, when our sisters couldn't enter buildings or couldn't get hired because they wore the hijab. And future generations are going to sit around and talk about this and share these stories, but say there was an organization called CAIR that had the courage at the height of Islamophobia in our history to stand up and to fight for our rights and to fight for what we deserve, which is the same rights that all people deserve. It's written into our Constitution. So we're going to continue that. We're not going to stop. We're going to stay positive. And I thank you all for joining us now. I smell the mulukhia coming from my kitchen, so I think it's time to go. Speaking of gaining weight, I'm okay with that. The gyms are closed, so I have a good excuse.
Let me be the first one to pledge the same pledge I did last year. Just continue doing that. So let me be the first one to pledge the same amount that I did last year, inshallah ta'ala. And inshallah ta'ala, perhaps more than that, inshallah. I'll be the first one to just continue my monthly payment to CAIR-Oklahoma.
Inshallah, reward you. Everybody, please, before the end of the night, follow Imam's footsteps, follow our footsteps, and make a pledge that you can do to support CAIR's greatest work. Wallahi, I always say, alhamdulillah, I've been working with CAIR 9 years myself, as Adam mentioned, and I say this almost every day, that working for CAIR, it is not a job, it's not a career, it's a passion and a mission that Allah's literally given the opportunity to defend that which is the most valuable, our faith, our freedom, and justice. And what a great blessing and opportunity from Allah if He uses either our time, our life, our energy, or our wealth to defend our faith, freedom, and justice in these difficult and challenging times. So please, mashallah, as I mentioned, there's about 60 of you watching live currently. Make the firm intention that each of us watching will raise $1,000 to support CAIR-Oklahoma's work. You can find the link below or on the CAIR-Oklahoma website to how you can donate. May Allah accept from us. And this dunya is short. The sacrifice is temporary, but the reward is forever. So may Allah allow us to trade that which is temporary for that which is eternal, and use our wealth, our energy, our skills to please Him by using it to defend justice and our faith to the great work that CAIR is doing. Jazakumullah khairan.
Inshallah, inshallah. And we'll end with this. If everything goes as planned, and inshallah, with the help of Allah and the mercy of Allah, we will, you know, the coronavirus vaccine will be developed, and hopefully, you know, we'll flatten the curve and all these things. If all goes as planned, we'll actually be together in person, September 12th in Oklahoma City. So we hope, inshallah, that we will be able to see each other in person and be able to celebrate properly 14 years of CAIR-Oklahoma, inshallah. But until then, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of our panelists tonight, inshallah, who took the time out to help us remember what we're supposed to be doing during this time, to help us stay focused, to put a smile on our face. I appreciate you all for being here, and may you stay safe in this time. And inshallah, we'll see you very, very soon.
Salam alaikum.
Yeah.